All right. Good evening, everyone. Coming across, moving over from the beginning session to the open session on the foundations. I've got a few people already. Glenn and I are going to be putting our heads together to make a few adjustments to some things. Starting next week, one thing we're going to do is look to put a 15-minute break in between these two sessions, so that you don't have the immediacy to come in. So we're definitely looking forward to that. Good evening. Good to see you. Oh, so they're still... I thought I had it fixed. My messages are still coming in. Participant can chat with everyone. Meeting chat. Anyways, hey, John. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think it's going to everyone now. I thought I had that fixed in my settings, but apparently I had to make a quick adjustment, but I seem to have got it. So I think you guys can communicate with everyone. I'll continue looking into what happened there. We're going to give it just another minute or two to let everyone get in, get situated. If you haven't noticed, we're looking to, at least temporarily, in an ongoing fashion, utilize Zoom to make sure those of you who are joining via mobile, there was some friction and some people were not able to get audio on their mobile devices when they were joining the Circle live stream room. So we are going to move towards the Zoom in order to accommodate for that. Let me know your thoughts and how that goes. Yeah. We'll give it one more minute for anyone else to join us here. I hope you had a good conversation with Glenn. I popped in for just a minute. I heard him talking about stops, which is good. Always good to reiterate the use of automated orders to help protect. Love hearing it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the recording on my local machine. So good evening, everyone. Welcome out to Market Watch Group Working Sessions. This is the second half, the open session. Anything goes, though, sticking to the basics is always a good idea. So I have never have a problem with that. My name is Scott Beck. I'll be your host. There are some new names. So for those of you who are new or just coming around more frequently, good to see you. Glad to have you. Those of you listening to the recordings, I hope you can join us live. But in the meantime, we'll have these available. As always, need to remind you that this is for education, illustrative purposes only. We're not brokers. We're not advisors. We don't give advice or recommendations. And let's just go ahead and jump in. Okay. What did we think? We met this morning. Futures looked pretty good. We started bullish. We rallied a bit and it was like, hey, and then, well, let's go look at the, I've got the SPY up. Let's dive into the intraday. We gapped up, pulled back a little, rallied hard. Then we came back down. Then we came back down. And then we broke down below that opening range. And then we struggled the rest of the day to get back. Ultimately, we ended up slightly negative, down 0.25% on the SPY. Okay. All right. Manageable. That's manageable. What else do we know about it? Volume has been interesting. So this was Friday of last week. That was an above average day. These two here, one was above average and counted. The next one was not. What do I mean by that? So I need to update a few things over here. We may as well get to that. Let's zoom in here. This was a selling day. I need to grab a few of these here. So let's duplicate the text note and move it over. And let's duplicate this one and bring it over. And we'll duplicate this one and bring it over. And duplicate this. And bring it over. Okay, now what am I going to do with this? I'm going to put one of these here. Good to see those of you joining us. I'm going to add another one here. And another one here. Let's keep going. I'm sure these were discussed. Boom. More to come. Okay, everyone, you should be able to chat with amongst the group. So give me some conversation here. This is a working session. I shouldn't be monologuing. We should be dialoguing. Okay, so let's start identifying. We dropped from 606 down to 604. There was above average selling. I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to put another one of those here. But I'm going to put a tie here because it gapped up and then sold back down. And then the next one I am going to give to the buyers. And then we have another day of selling here. And then we have another day of selling here. And I'm going to actually, and let me know how you guys scored this. If I'm on Happy New Year to you, Miguel. Thank you. Good to see you, my friend. I appreciate that. Glad to see everybody. I'm going to say a tie on here because it gapped up and came down and it just wasn't enough to give the sellers another day. And then this one didn't have volume today. So 1, 2, 3, 4 sells, 2 ties, 1 buy. Where are you guys having that? About a minus 0.5? Does that sound right? Is that where you feel like you're going? Now let's put this at 1 month daily. There it is. How does that feel? Me coming in without having been part of the conversations. Looks good. Okay. There had to be some conversation about this one. Probably these two here. But ultimately, yeah. All right. And the new information this week is another sell day and another tie day. Today we had nothing. We're holding right around this. This still technically, it's kind of a same low. Lower low by shadow, higher low by body. Holding in the realm of this trend line. I'm still okay with it, Grinch Rally. I love it. Yeah, I'm still okay with this, what we see here. Sneaky reversals are still intact as far as I'm concerned. We're still going to be looking for... I still think we're going to be looking for buying signals. Tell me if that's what you're looking for or not. I'm very curious. But, yeah, okay. Let's go to the watch list. And what I want us thinking about today, is there anything we would bounce? Right? I'm gonna stop on a few of them. But let's just go through the watch list. Let's talk about what we think, what it means. Apple. News of competition and price alterations, price discounts in China, which is not something they do frequently. Still wasn't a huge amount of volume. 47 average, 55 today, a little above average, but we're still above the 50. I'm okay here still, actually. But we'll see what happens if it stabilizes and can hold at or above the 50-day. Otherwise, I still like it. Amazon, I still like it. Kind of a double bottom, but one I'm willing to trade off of. In what way? Well, it's holding, right? Whoops, it's holding that line. A little bit of a false start, but still holding the same line. If I get another opportunity, I still think that's valid. What else are the implications of that? It's Amazon. It's one of the strongest and leading consumer discretionary stocks. It's up there with Tesla by way of its size and influence in that sector. So yeah, I think we definitely have to take that into account and be extra aware of the implications if and when that signal comes. AppLovin gave a little bit of a false start, pulled back, and then what today? Boom, it's turned. I would say this is open for business. If you like it, it's a little bit of a, it turned but hasn't crossed. Let's see what the Heiken Ashi look like. Next day would be a strong Heiken Ashi, I would imagine. Yeah. Tomorrow, if we see something along these lines, yeah, I think you have some potential there. Real strong moves prior to this current consolidation. But I still think that there's plenty of opportunity coming out of that. AXP. Not quite yet. But it's knocking on the door. Let me know if your thoughts about financials. There's going to be some of these sneaky reversal signals. What does that mean? So these have gone into consolidation mode. Draw your line. There's your consolidation. Oh, well, based on that, what happened? We bottomed. We moved up. Is that a big move up? Is that where we're like, man, look how strong the buyers are? No. They did all right. They did definitely have a big volume day that came in. You can see that here. That had some potential to it. You can see that on this pullback, the sellers didn't do much. We didn't have much by way of our stochastics. Is there a there? Is there something that we would latch onto for a signal? Yeah, I think that is what I would consider. Again, it's not a overt. That's why I call it a sneaky reversal. It's just this sneaky little higher low. Oftentimes I'm looking for a bigger move on this initial push. And then it pulls back and finds support at or around the 50. This thing didn't do that. It didn't do that. It didn't break even the 50. It stalled, but it's still kind of giving this look. So, if it does something like this, could you be thinking, hey, you know what? I like that. I think that might be it. This thing might make the cup move. That's it. That's your chance. It's now or not at all. You've heard me say that before. If it does go bullishly. Now, of course, if it's wrong, if it doesn't actually give that last little piece of confirmation, then we're just going to keep watching. I haven't seen one that I'm going to throw out yet. BK, very similar, same group. BX, very similar, same group. You're seeing the same types of setups where it bottomed, popped up, pulled back, and it's like, well, are the sellers done? Are the buyers ready to open up and get this thing moving again? Possibly so. That's financials. What about industrials? What about industrials? Here's Carrier. Yeah? It had a steeper decline. It was going this way and then it accelerated. And what does that mean? Well, there's that same kind of, wasn't a huge move up, but it also hasn't done much the other way. So are industrials going through a similar kind of a, hey, they're trying to bottom out. They're trying to pop a little bit of a higher low. Yes. Could we wait? Could we say, hey, you know what? I want to see it get a little bit closer at or maybe even above the 50 and then pull back and then I'll trade it? Sure. And if it makes this move, you're going to watch it. And you're just going to be like, all right, I knew I was going to watch. If it gets the bullishness, you might get some bullishness, but not much bullishness. It's up to you. What your level of bullish thought is in this regard. And whether or not you're going to extend it to what has clearly been some sectors that showed more weakness in this last decline. Financials and industrials. Thoughts? Does that make sense? Were you thinking that? Let's say you're new. What's your concern right now? Right? I was thinking about that because that's one of the things we're solving for. It's that same challenge. I've mentioned it before. We want to make sure that we are really catering. If someone's brand new, what should the discussion be? I mean, at any given time, if you're brand new, you've got to ask yourself, where am I going to find my next trade? Where's my next trade going to come from? Is somebody going to give it to me? Maybe you have a good service. Maybe you're waiting for an alert to come out. But I have to think, if you want to be a trader, you're whatever you're starting with, you're moving towards something, and that is an ability to find your own trades. So hopefully it's something like what we do, where our alerts come from our watch lists. You can see where our watch list comes from. It's built together collaboratively. So if you're new, you should have a watch list. We have one. Share it with us. There's no need for you to reinvent the wheel. If you want to learn how to make the watch list, we'll just watch and we talk about, hey, what are the stocks that are interesting to us and why? Why these stocks versus other stocks? Has a lot to do with the sector they're in, how strong they are within that sector, the volume and the options that they trade. We tend to trade leaders. Review Apple trade alert. Was that one that Glenn put out? Hopefully he reviewed that to some extent, but I'm certainly, was it an alert or was it a setup? Let me see give me the date, Vladimir. I'm certainly happy to help with that. It's on our list. I like it as a setup now. If you took a trade on it earlier, let me see if I can go find some information on that. Trade alert 260. Yep. Give me a second. I'm going to pull up some information on that. Disney, VRT, USB, PLTR, DAL, Apple. Okay. Apple was, I just had it. That was on December 20th. Entry range, Apple, that was on December 20th. I like that. You got 3 days and then it turned. Okay. Yeah, great starting point. I agree with the starting point to that trade. What's the thought? Well, I'll tell you one thing. The thought is management. How much would we let it drop? Now, if you like Heikin-Ashi, which I do, on the 20th, we were actually still on a transition candle, which to me confirms a great entry right there. The stochastics was turning. Stochastics was there. Great entry. And then you got 3 good days. Boom, boom, boom. We would have loved to have gotten 8, like back here, where it's just day after day, but it didn't. It didn't. Be water, my friends. If you're flying a plane and you're like, hey, I'm going to take this plane, I'm going to fly from Utah to New York City. And as I'm flying from Utah to New York City, I'm getting about halfway. I'm around Chicago, and I look at the fuel, and I'm like, oh my God. I thought I was going to New York City, but my plane is running out of fuel. Well, I can keep flying to New York City knowing that my fuel is running low. Or I land the plane. And here we saw the fuel was running low. That could have been the exit, but there we definitely, right? And that's where we say, hey, maybe I was able to keep some of this. Maybe I booked a little gain when I saw this, and then I tightened my stop and I closed the rest of it. This right here is what's going to define us as traders. When I look at this trade alert, if it would have gone on up to its target, that would have been up around 274, taking some profit at 264, which would have been here. Didn't quite get there for the take profit, even higher. Yeah, that looks like that's exactly what I would have wanted to have gotten. And if it would have done that move, this would have been a phenomenal trade. He has a 2-to-1. I bet with the option, I would have done at least a 3-to-1. But it didn't. It turned. By this point, we're now day 4 of red candles. Day 4 of red candles. We can't just sit and be like, hey, is this thing gonna? No. Ooh. Right? I have to see when the trade changes. If you're walking down the tracks and you see a train coming, best advice, get off the tracks. Right? Get off the tracks. What does that mean? Well, when we see this turn red, we don't think, well, maybe it'll come back. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll take a while. And you would just sit and bleed to death on time decay. Maybe it just keeps getting worse. What we know is it didn't do what we thought, which was move up on this trajectory. We give it some leeway, but not too much leeway. What else do we know? This is not the same market as it was when we were 7.25. This market has dropped by at least 1.5 points, according to the market posture score. So with it having done that, then we need to be like a little, right? We have to acknowledge that in how we respond with our trades. When we know it's dropped, we know that we're going to be a little more prone to exits until we see it recover that ground. Has it recovered that ground yet? No. Has it stabilized? Yes. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's in line with what you've done. And there may be some trades where you're like, I'm going to stay with it even though, because my market posture is bullish, because I know things can recover pretty easily at times. Yeah, this is part of us connecting market posture to trading. If you're new, what does this mean? It means that we don't just expect our trades to work because they're our trades, even though the market is starting to possibly shift. Okay, if we see it shift, we trade accordingly until it's recovered from that. One of the things that we were looking at, I hope that's the right discussion. Let me know if that's not. Let me know if there's any other trades that you want to discuss in the same vein. I'm going to move this back to standard candles. At the end of the day, though, I'm still looking at this for a setup. And so you might think, well, Scott, if you're looking at it for a setup, could I argue for staying in this trade? We're not here. I don't think you're here to try to get justifications for things. Yes, you could make an argument for being in this. If you have a longer term position, you want to give it a little bit of flexibility. A short-term trade, you gave back a lot, especially today, right? Especially today. So times like now, when our market posture is dropped from 7.25 to 5 3/4, and you say, hey, what does that mean? What does that mean to me? We've said, hey, it's a 0.5 point down. It's 3/4 of a point even down. We don't think that's that bad, but this was 1.5 points. This was enough that it rattled the markets to some extent. Thoughts? Does that make sense? Let's go look at the VIX. Then I'm going to go back to the watch list. Even the VIX, for me, is setting up for actually a confirmation of better conditions. We spiked up here. Got all the way back. Not all the way, but very close to all the way. Then we pushed up again. We didn't spike up. We pushed up. Is this a lower high? Maybe. I mean, it is a lower high now, but it's not. We don't know that it's done. How do I know? If I go out and I throw a ball up in the air, how do I know it's reached its highest point? When it starts to come back down. When it starts to come back down. It's got to roll over. Something's got to give. It's got to turn. If I see that, that looks fantastic. That looks fantastic. Okay, questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Any bullish trades, same thing. Same questions. Glenn puts it in his quote. He either wins or learns. Either make money or pay for information. Whatever you're going to do, make sure you're learning from your trades that don't work. That's where all the good information is. Yeah? Okay. Let's get back to the watch list. Back to the same question. What's the at any given time, if you're a new trader, what should you be thinking? Where's my next trade? I'm a trader. I need something to trade. What are you going to trade? We don't just slap trades on willy-nilly like, I'm just going to put a trade on. They come from somewhere. They develop. They set up. They trigger. Okay, watch list is a great place for that. Where were we on our watch list? Let's go back to Caterpillar. It's still down at lows. We're not here to predict the bottom of things. We're here to wait for buyers to convince us that they've gotten some oomph back into their step. Then when they take a break, we look for that transition to the higher low. Does it have to be above the 50? I'm somewhat ambiguous to that. I could take it or leave it. I'm not dogmatic. If the market was breaking harder, I might add, well, let's go see if we want to or not. What am I thinking of adding? So I have a lot of lines from other things on here, but I'm thinking about adding another moving average. So, let's just do it for a second here. I'm going to go to 100. I'm going to make this one a light blue. Okay. And you can see it's actually a little bit hidden by this red line, but they're in exactly the same place. What does this mean? You can see we touched it. We haven't gotten down to it. And I could also look at adding, let's do one more. We'll leave these on for a minute or two and see if we like the perspective. I'm going to make that gold. We're well above the gold line. Paying for information with current trades. PJ said, okay. All right. Fair enough. Hopefully learning some good things with management. But look where we are relative to the 200. We're nowhere near it. Nowhere near it. We're actually still above the 50 or the 100 day. So overall, I think things look okay. Let's go back to the watch list. CLS. We have a lot of these false starts, but they're still valid. It held, it turned, got a little stalled. Now what? Still looking for it. Things don't always behave perfectly the way we want them to, which is fine. We're looking for something new. CMG. I'm going to keep CMG a little while longer, but it's nothing until it does something like this. CNK. Nothing there for me yet. Coherent. Okay, look at that. Now you can see it got through the 50, and where did it go to? Right to the 100. That's why I would have that. And it's bouncing off of that. But for me, this is actually just the first. This is the lowest low. Just because it has a good day, people are like, oh, should I have seen that signal? No, that's not for me. That's coming off the lowest low. I'm not trying to predict the lowest low in a consolidation like this. At this point, all I want to see is, does this get a little higher? Then on the next pullback, can it hold at or above that 50-day? That would be fantastic. Then I have something. These are the things I'm looking for trade signals, for trade alerts right now. Cisco looks great. Didn't make a higher high, but it's certainly making a higher low. Delta. It's trying. It is kind of at a critical juncture right here. If it can't hold that low, what is it doing? It's making new lower lows. Its consolidation is still moving downward. That's a tough one. Diamonds. Nothing there yet. DocuSign, it's above the 50, but it for me is still in enough of a consolidation that I'm not really that interested in that. Festinol, nothing there, still going down. Flex, I think there may be something there. I'm looking at it. GBTC. I don't know. Clearly people still like it. GE Vernova. That looks like it's trying to convincingly produce a higher low. I would say that's viable. Viable for consideration right there. Did anyone place a new trade today? I wouldn't expect so, but I would say that you probably got some things lined up. GM. Uber. Ooh, okay. Love it. GM. Still setting up, maybe. I'm going to take a break and pop over to Uber. Okay. There you go. What do I like? It's in the same kind of that sneaky reversal. Higher low, not by much, but it's they don't call it a sneaky reversal because it's glaringly obvious, right? Love it. If you missed this or you didn't like it, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for it to get up into this boundary, which may be the range for this trade. Then you wait for the pullback, and then you look to see if it finds a new low in there, and now you have a little more confirmation. Great. You're still below the 50. You still have opportunity. I like that. Okay, quick message to anyone who's new. If you're new, what are your thoughts here? Find the strength. Yeah, we're still overall bullish, so what are we thinking? Let's find strength. Where are we finding strength? Where are we finding buyers? Only on one trade, Miguel said. Okay, he's pared it down significantly in this last little bit. I love it. Okay. Google. I still see strength in Google. I still see setup potential firing here in Google. Goldman Sachs. Let's keep going through our list here. Goldman Sachs potentially setting up. Home Depot. All these have that same kind of a thing where it's like, hey, that might be it. That might be it. You can see here, pops up, pulls back, boom. It only led to one trade. That's all I care about is the next trade. That's what we're looking for right now. What's the next trade? Where's it coming from? HWM, maybe. IBM, not for me, not yet. New lower lows. There's nothing here yet. I am not trying to call the bottom. I'm not trying to call the bottom on international paper. I'm not trying to call the bottom on small caps, although maybe a small argument to be made there. JCI, not yet. KKR, oh. Well, you know I like KKR. Definitely something potentially there. MasterCard. Still above the 200, or excuse me, still above the 50, still looks bullish. Still viable. Meta. Oh, that's a strong argument right there. If I were to put out an alert, that would probably be the one I'm looking at tomorrow. If that has some continuation, let's go look at what that Heiken Ashi is showing us. Oh, next candle. Next candle's the one. First confirmation. Morgan Stanley, maybe. Microsoft, no. I'm not taking lower lows. MicroStrategy, no. MicroStrategy is one that I'm thinking of kicking. It's so volatile. It's a shark frenzy. In fact, it's gone. NDAQ. Still viable. If I get a recovery transition on that. Netflix. Still looks strong. NVIDIA. NVIDIA's trying to turn into something. PLTR. Oh, PLTR. Setting up for a brand new beautiful trade. You know I love PLTR. You know I like the way that this is setting up. Absolutely looking for an entry on PLTR. PayPal, I think I'm looking for something on PayPal. Roblox. Now look at the strength we're finding. And where are we finding it? Technology adjacent with communication services. Little bit of leaders popping out of some financials maybe. That's my thought process. Roblox looking good for the setup. Reddit looking good for the setup. Rocket Labs looking good for the setup. All of this is looking strong. What else? SoFi, not as much. TJX, meh. T-Mobile, meh. Taiwan Semiconductor, hello, yes. TTD, no. Twilio, no. Twilio, maybe. Upwork, maybe. VRT. It's trying to come around. Zillow. I think there's some strength. I think there's some things setting up that are legitimately market leaders. Tomorrow will be an important day. Tomorrow will definitely be an important day. Glenn will be here in the morning. I will be here in the afternoon for the entire last hour. Remember that changes are coming, and what are we trying to do? Once again, solving for the problem. How can we make sure that when you're a beginner, you're feeling comfortable? Comfortable with the alerts, comfortable with our analysis, comfortable with what you should be thinking at any given time. That's what we're moving towards. So hopefully, be a little slower going from one stock to another as screen does not refresh. Okay. Good feedback, PJ. Good feedback. Although it's definitely hard for me to know when it is coming across. Certainly just maybe flag me and say, hey, can you repeat that? Or, my objective is to cover as much as I can, but I get that if I go too fast, it's going to be hard for you to see what's going on. Good feedback. Much appreciated. All right. Well, listen, good working session. What should we know? We're fine. There should be no panic in our game, in our trading. We should be ready with how many trades, where those trades are coming, and what you're going to do with them if the signals come. That's my thought. Looking forward to it. So Glenn will see you in the morning. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Back to the regular schedule. Back to doing what we do. Watching this market, seeing if we're going to move past this January sideways and move into something more bullish that we could latch onto for a few months. That's the hope. Why do I use EMA versus SMA? I don't know that that's the right question, right? Preference. That would be the answer is preference. But, if you're ever looking to say, hey, I want to decide for myself, put them both on. Pick which one you like better. That's what I did. So that's the answer. There's no mathematical. I think sometimes when people are like, why do you use this indicator instead? When you ask the instead, there's hundreds of indicators that somebody has elected not to use. So to ask, why are you not using something that you're not using versus why are you using what you're using? Even when you ask why, all you're going to find is preference. It's a visual. I like the way that looks. If someone tells you that mathematically one is better than the other, it's just, I don't think that that's true. What I would say is put a simple moving average versus an exponential. One's going to turn a little faster. Well, it's going to turn faster when it's right. It's going to turn faster when it's wrong. Maybe your preference is that the information comes sooner, then you're going to like that better. Maybe your preference is you want more confirmation, then you're not going to like it better. So it's really a matter of visual preference when you look at indicators. And you, same thing with shorter versus longer. 200 is going to be more confirmation, slow as hell. 10 is going to turn really fast, but how much can you trust it? Now you pick which one is important to you and why. That's why people will use multiple. But then what? Then you find yourselves getting into a situation where you have 5, 6, 8 different moving averages. Is that helpful? Is that going to help you with more? Is more information better information? What is the objective of the moving average? For me, it's perspective. I don't get triggers from a moving average. It's just perspective. I like to see where it is relative to that line. When we break the 50, I add a couple more so I can see, what's the perspective relative to that? That's all it is. It's not going to tell me what my trigger should be. It's not going to tell me a target. It's not going to tell me all it's going to give me is some perspective. Quick, easy, visual perspective. Somebody else might be getting more information from a moving average, and they're going to give you a very different answer. So, everything that we're talking about are technical tools that we use to help process supply and demand. At the end of the day, it should come to where it does boil down to what are my specific rules for entry, stop, target, time frame, etc. Good questions. Hopefully that's helpful, right? These are the questions where when you're new, you're convinced that, oh, if I just pick the right indicators. No, that's not what it is. And if I tell you what my indicators are and you use them, the second you use it differently than me, they're different tools for you now. We use them differently now. So they have to work for you and what you're looking to do with them. Very personalized, even if there's a lot of similarities with how we're all going to apply those types of things. All right, great. Good conversation. Good to see everybody. Have a great rest of your night. I will see you tomorrow in the afternoon. Glenn will see you in the morning. As always, happy trading.